So, Professor Allen, how to vacation safely amid the coronavirus pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, we really need to do is be aware. There's a couple of things we have to be aware of. One is you have to take into account the disease dynamics wherever you are and wherever you're going. So first and foremost, to be sure, you're not traveling to a place that's a hotspot, or that you may not be coming from a hotspot and be bringing it to a place that hasn't had a large impact right now. And then I think we put in these controls we've all hopefully been doing at this point, being really vigorous with and responsible with wearing a mask, maintaining physical distancing from others, covering your cough, staying inside if you're sick. And then on the building side is putting in some of these healthy building controls, like opening up your window to bring in some more fresh outdoor air, cleaning and disinfecting surfaces. I think we're already starting to see the benefit of these really small but important actions by individuals.
But is there a way to eliminate the risk of contracting coronavirus while traveling?
Yeah, there's no such thing as zero risk in anything we do in life, and certainly not during a pandemic. So I think what people need to do is ask themselves these questions. Is it necessary? Is it really important for you to take this trip or travel? Do you have any pre-existing conditions that might put you at higher risk? And then I think the third thing is really important. Are you willing to do your part to help control this? Stay away from others, wear a mask, and act responsibly. So I think we have to ask ourselves all of those questions before we go out and make any trip, be it to a show or concert, to a friend's house, or even traveling on a vacation.
Is a common plan needed between countries, or they can decide separately, let's say, when to open the borders or touristic sites?
Yeah, ideally, we wouldn't have such an ad hoc approach between countries, or in the United States where I am, between states. This virus, of course, does not respect any borders by any means. So if we have a common plan, or at least a common set of principles and guiding rules, that can go a long way to help stem this. It doesn't really make sense if one country is really restrictive, another country is really loose. The virus is just going to carry with people, irregardless of our national and international borders.
Okay, let's say everything is open, beaches are open, restaurants are open. Will people be there?
Well, national governments, cities, mayors can all decide when they want to open. Businesses can decide they're open, but the person or the people who decide when the economy opens is the consumer. And so if the consumer doesn't feel safe going to your restaurant or going to the beach, they're not going to go. And if you look at the polls, right, it depends. Some people are really reluctant to do anything, and some are saying this is not real and I'm going to go about my life in a normal way. I think that last one's a bit dangerous approach. But the reality is all of these businesses, to reopen safely, are going to have to put in these control measures. And maybe most importantly, they're going to have to communicate that to the consumer. So that, if I'm going to a restaurant, I go there and I know I can see the changes they've made that help keep all the customers safe. And also they should be telling me about the things maybe I don't see, like bringing in more air or increasing the filtration up, in the ceiling where you don't really see that, but they need to communicate that.
Yeah, so consumers will decide based on what?
Well, I think a couple things. One is I think it depends on how well the establishment is putting in controls. For example, when I go get takeout from a restaurant in my neighborhood, there's a restaurant that's doing it really well. I feel really safe. Everything's contactless. They're wearing a mask, and I go there a lot. There are other restaurants that aren't doing this, and I don't go there anymore. I don't feel safe. So I think, what's going to decide is, one, how well the company or business is putting in controls, and two, it's really people's personal risk tolerance, right? If I'm risk averse, and I think the best thing to do is to avoid this exposure and hazard, so you stay home. And some people have a different risk tolerance and think, well, maybe my risk is low and I'm just going to go out and live my life as normal as I can. So I think it's those two factors, how well a business is putting in controls and people's personal risk tolerance.
Mm-hmm. What are those things people can ask for, let's say, when they rent a car or a hotel room, so they can feel comfortable?
Yeah, I think people should look at the website of these organizations to see what steps they're taking. That would be first and foremost before you decide to stay at a hotel or rent a car. And these organizations should be listing very clearly right up front what steps they're taking. And that can help consumers decide if that's a place they want to do business with or go to the hotel or rent a car from. I also think when you're there in person, you should also ask, what control measures are in place? What are you doing to keep me safe? And I think just hearing their answer will tell you a lot. If they are clear about it, if they have an information sheet for you, that will tell you they're taking this seriously. If they don't have an answer for you, that's also telling you an important message. It means they're not taking it seriously and they haven't been thinking about it.
Road trip or flying? What do you think? Which way is more safe?
Well, anything we can do to minimize the number of contacts we have is better. So if you were to go on a road trip and you have a private car and you can drive that car and you're minimizing the number of contacts, that definitely reduces your own risk and also reduces population risk. If you're going to air travel, I wrote an article in the Washington Post in the US that talks about the science of the air quality on the airplane. The air in the airplane is actually quite good. The issue is that the entire travel experience presents a lot of chances to be exposed to many people. For example, in the security line at the airport, at check-in, at the gate, during boarding when everyone goes down these narrow jetways. So it's not the time on the airplane that has me most concerned, it's everything else. But there again, if we take some basic precautions, we can get through these experiences and keep the risk level low.
So we are not going to have a normal summer, no?
No, absolutely not. It'll be different, but we're pretty resilient, and I think we'll get through it. It won't be normal. It'll be a new normal. I think we'll get this. We'll start to reopen the economy. And I'll say this, I don't think it should be a normal summer. We're in the middle of a pandemic. This virus, as we've seen, can spread very quickly. And when it hits a spot particularly hard, it causes a lot of disease and death. So it shouldn't be a normal summer. We should be taking these precautions. I think there are elements of our lives we can start to get back, but it shouldn't be, a total reopening on day one and everybody goes back to what we were doing in January.